Welcome to the deep dive. Let's talk about shoes for a minute.
Okay.
Finding a pair that feels really right, it can be surprisingly difficult, can it?
Oh, absolutely.
And
Yeah,
if you happen to need, say, larger sizes or wider fittings, well, that simple task suddenly becomes, a real headache.
it really does. For a lot of big and tall guys, finding wide shoes that actually fit well,
Yeah.
it's it's more than just annoying. It seriously impacts their comfort every single day and their foot health long term too.
Exactly. And that's what we're really digging into today. Those specific challenges, the hurdles that big and tall men face looking for wide shoes.
Mhm.
And we'll also get into the foot problems, the actual health issues that can pop up when shoes just aren't the right size.
Right. And we're using info from DT Footwear. They really specialize in these harder to find sizes, plus some relevant research to kind of paint the full picture.
So what's the plan? We'll start with the sizing itself, the dilemma, why is it so hard?
Yeah, untangling that puzzle first. Then we'll look at the health side, what happens when shoes fit badly.
Then solutions, like what's actually out there. We'll focus on some brands DT Footwear carries, maybe Propit, Hossboot Co., Apis, Orthofeet, Drew Shoe, those kinds of names.
Exactly. And finally, super important, why getting properly measured is just, well, crucial.
Okay, sounds good. So let's jump in. This sizing challenge.
hmm
What makes it so tricky for big and tall men specifically?
Well, the basic issue is that the standard shoe market, it really focuses on, let's call them average sizes.
The ones you see everywhere.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
For men, that usually means what, size 7 up to about size 13, that's the core range.
Right, that covers a lot of people, but
But not everyone. Big and tall men often need sizes beyond 13. DT Footwear, for instance, they stock shoes way past that, going right up to a size 20.
size 20, wow. That really puts in perspective. Your options in a regular store must be almost zero.
Very limited. And crucially, it's not just the length, is it?
No, the width is huge, or rather needs to be huge sometimes.
Exactly. Width is just as important, but standard sizing often ignores it or
Right.
simplifies it. Most people know D width, right? Medium.
Yeah, standard width.
But many bigger guys need much wider. We're talking E, EE, which people often call 2E, then 3E, 4E, 5E, even 6E.
Okay.
And DT Footwear carries even wider stuff like ultra-wide options. Think 9E, 10E, and even 14E width.
14,
Yeah.
that gives you a real sense of the variety in foot shapes and sizes out there. It's not just long feet.
Not at all. Often it's needing that extra width, or sometimes both length and width.
Both have to be right, yeah. For comfort and, like you said, for health.
Precisely. If one's off, you're just asking for trouble down the line.
And I saw DT Footwear mentions having 6E with casual shoes specifically. That seems like a good target, wide enough, but maybe not looking, enormous.
That's a great point. Sometimes people worry wider shoes will look, well, clunky or out of proportion. So finding options like a 6E casual shoe that balances fit and style, that's definitely a win.
Okay, so that leads right into the next big question then. What actually happens health-wise when someone, especially a bigger guy, putting more pressure on their feet, wears shoes that are too tight, too narrow? It's got to be more than just sore feet at the end of the day.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking real physiological consequences. Squeezing your feet into narrow shoes day after day isn't just uncomfortable. It can directly cause or worsen a whole list of foot problems.
Like what specifically?
Well, think about that constant sideways pressure. It's a direct route to things like ingrown toenails. Super painful, often needs a doctor.
Ouch. Yeah.
The pressure just forces the nail edge right into the skin. Then you've got corns and calluses, basically your skin thickening up, trying to protect itself from that constant rubbing and pressure.
The body's defense mechanism, but not a comfortable one.
Not at all. And metatarsalgia, that's pain in the ball of the foot, just behind the toes. Narrow shoes that cramp the forefoot, that definitely makes it worse.
And if someone already has issues, maybe like bunions or hammer toes?
Oh, it's brutal. Bunions, that bony lump at the base of the big toe, get pushed on constantly. Hammer toes, where the toes are curled up, they get forced into even more unnatural positions in a tight shoe.
So it makes existing problems worse, potentially much faster.
Exactly. More pain, and it can speed up how quickly those conditions progress. And, it doesn't stop at the feet.
Right. You mentioned long-term effects. How does that work?
Well, if your feet hurt, you naturally change how you walk.
Okay.
Right. You alter your gait to try and compensate, maybe avoid putting pressure on a sore spot.
Makes sense.
But changing your natural walk throws off your body's alignment. You can lead to strain and pain in your ankles, your knees, your hips, even up into your back.
It's like a chain reaction.
It really is. And for big and tall guys who might already put more force through their feet just due to their size, These kinds of compensation issues can become really significant. It can really impact mobility and just overall quality of life over time.
Wow. So are there studies that back this up, maybe specifically on bigger guys?
While the sources we looked at didn't pinpoint studies only on big and tall men, research on other groups really hammers home the point about proper fit. Like, there was a 2021 study on kids' shoes.
Okay.
Found a surprisingly high number were wearing shoes that didn't fit right length, and width were off for many. And interestingly, for boys especially, they found links between shoes being too short and changes in their foot arches, and even the angle of their big toe.
So even on developing feet, bad fit can cause structural changes.
Seems like it. And another study, this one on kids aged 8 to 12, looked at how shoe size affected foot movement while walking.
And what did they find?
Shoes that were too small actually restricted the foot's natural motion. Things like hind foot eversion, that's the normal inward roll of the foot, and how the big toe bends. It was all limited.
So even if it doesn't hurt immediately, tight shoes are messing with your body's mechanics.
Exactly. Interfering with how your foot is supposed to move and absorb shock.
Okay, this is definitely highlighting the risks. So let's pivot to solutions. We understand the problem, the potential health fallout. What options are there for big and tall men who need these wide shoes?
Well, the good news is there are brands and places focusing on this. DT Footwear, like we said, carries several key ones that offer really good solutions.
Let's talk about some of them. Propit, you mentioned.
Yeah, Propit is a big name in comfort footwear. They're known for offering a really wide range of sizes, going up to XX wide, which is sometimes labeled as 5E, or even wider depending on the model. That's huge for guys with really wide feet.
And what kind of shoes do they make?
They get a lot of praise for just comfortable walking shoes, everyday kind of stuff. But they also do things like hiking boots. They have one called the Vaymont that's waterproof and comes in those wider widths.
Okay, waterproof, wide hiking boots. That sounds like something people struggle to find.
Definitely. Then there's Haas Boot Co. They're really focused on work boots.
Ah, important category. Safety gear needs to fit right.
Absolutely. Haas makes durable boots in extended sizes. Like their Old Glory safety boot has electrical hazard protection. It's water-resistant, slip-resistant outsole, steel toe, all the safety stuff, but in sizes that actually fit bigger guys.
So no compromise on safety for the sake of fit.
Exactly. They also have more athletic styles, like the Haas Rim Fly Work shoe, still with safety features like a composite toe.
Good to know there are options for different work environments. What about dress shoes? That seems like another really tough area for wide feet.
You're absolutely right. Finding a dress shoe that fits well and looks good in a wide size can be a real quest. That's where a brand like Apis comes in.
Okay, Apis.
Yeah, they specialize in quality footwear for big and tall needs. They have models like the Apis 9921, which is an extra depth dress shoe.
Extra depth, what does that mean exactly?
It means there's more vertical room inside the shoe from the insole up. It's designed specifically to accommodate foot conditions like bunions or hammer toes, giving them space instead of squashing them. And crucially, it also provides room if you wear custom orthotics or inserts.
Ah, okay. That makes a lot of sense, especially for dress shoes where you might be standing or walking a fair bit.
Exactly. Apis also does work shoes like their 6501 composite toe model, which features a nice wide toe box. That width right at the front lets your toes spread out naturally.
That sounds much more comfortable.
And it's worth mentioning that DT Footwear generally highlights having shoes with these extra depth constructions across different types, not just dress or work. That extra room can be a lifesaver for orthotics or just managing things like bunions.
It seems like extra depth is another key factor beyond just length and width for some people.
It really is. It adds another dimension to getting the fit just right.
Okay, so we've got the sizing issues, the health risks, some solid brand options like Propit, Haas, Apis, and others like Orthofeed and Drew Shoe also available. But how does someone figure out their actual size and width, especially if they've maybe been cramming their feet into the wrong size for years?
That is such a critical piece of the puzzle. Proper measurement is non-negotiable, especially for big and tall footwear. You really can't just guess or rely on the size you think you are.
So how do you do it accurately? What are the steps?
Okay, first, for length. Best time to measure is later in the day.
Why is that?
Our feet naturally swell a bit as the day goes on, just
Yeah.
from being active, gravity. Measuring later gives you the sort of maximum size your foot reaches.
Got it. So measure in the evening maybe. What next?
Stand on a piece of paper, make sure you're standing, putting weight on your feet, and carefully trace the outline of each foot.
Both feet.
Yes, definitely both. Then, take a ruler or tape measure and measure from the very back of the heel, tracing to the tip of your longest toe. Might not be your big toe.
Good point. And then what do you do with that number?
Here's a key tip. Add about 38 to 12 an inch to that measurement. That's for your toe room. You need that little bit of space so your toes aren't jammed against the end when you walk or stand.
Right, that wiggle room makes a big difference. Okay, what about measuring the width?
For width, you measure across the widest part of the foot tracing, which is usually the ball of the foot, just behind the toes. Again, make sure you measured while standing with weight on the foot.
Okay, across the widest point. And you mentioned measuring both feet earlier.
Yes, absolutely crucial. Most people have one foot that's slightly larger than the other. It's really
Yeah.
common. So you always want to choose your shoe size based on the measurements of your larger foot.
Fit to the bigger one makes sense. Otherwise, one foot's going to be cramped.
Exactly.
So once you have these length and width numbers,
Yeah.
how do they translate into, a size 9 4E or whatever?
The length measurement corresponds to the numerical shoe size 10, 11, 12, etc. You'd typically check that against a standard sizing chart, which retailers like DT Footwear usually provide online, or a shoe professional could help.
Okay.
And the width measurement translates into those letter codes we talked about. D is medium, then it goes E, 2E, 3, 4E, 6E, and all the way up to those super wides like 9, 10E, 14E.
And as we established, big and tall guys often find they need those wider E ratings.
Very often, yes. That's where they find the fit that doesn't squeeze the life out of their feet.
So getting both numbers right is key. Length and width.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's one more layer too. Men with larger feet might also have other specific foot conditions that need certain shoe features.
Like what?
Well, if someone has bunions, they'll really benefit from shoes with a naturally wider, maybe rounded or square, toe box shape. Gives that joint space.
Okay.
If hammer toes are the issue, that extra depth feature we discussed becomes really important, especially in the toe area. Gives those curl toes vertical room.
Right.
Flat feet. You need good structured arch support to help with alignment and reduce strain. And for anyone with really sensitive feet, maybe diabetic neuropathy, looking for shoes with smooth, seamless interiors can make a huge difference in preventing irritation or blisters.
Wow, okay. So it's not just size and width, but potentially shape, depth, support, and even the inside finish. Lots to consider.
It can seem like a lot, but taking the time to measure properly and understand what your specific feet need, it really pays off in finding shoes that feel good and support your health.
Definitely sounds worth the effort. So, okay, we've covered a ton today. The sizing issues, the health risks of bad fit, some great brand solutions like Propit, Haas, Apis, Orthofeet, Drew Shoe via DT Footwear, and the absolute necessity of proper measuring. Any final thoughts to wrap this up?
Yeah, I think the main takeaway is that finding shoes that fit, even if you need big and tall sizes, it doesn't have to be this impossible, frustrating quest anymore.
There are options now.
There really are. Places like DT Footwear are specifically serving this need, offering a real selection of quality shoes in those extended sizes and widths.
And we need to remember, it's not just about feeling comfy right now. Properly fitted shoes are fundamental for preventing foot pain, yeah, but also for better posture and just supporting your foot health over the long haul.
Couldn't agree more. So, if you're listening and you've struggled with this, really check out the collections from brands like Propit, Haas, Bootco, Apis, Orthofeet, Drew Shoe. DT Footwear has them.
And they cover that whole range, sizes 5 to 20, with ski up to 14, work boots, hikers, dress shoes.
Yep, specialized options too. It really feels like they're addressing those common pain points.
Yeah.
Ultimately, investing in shoes that fit properly, it's an investment in your comfort, your well-being, your ability to stay active. Everyone deserves shoes that fit right, period.
Well said. And if listeners are still a bit unsure about their exact size, or maybe which type of shoe is best for them, DT Footwear has fitment specialists, right? People you can talk to.
That's right. They offer personalized help with sizing and picking the right shoe. It takes a lot of guesswork out.
That sounds like a fantastic resource.
It really is.
Well, thank you for walking us through all this. It's been a really insightful deep dive into a topic that probably affects more people than we realize.
My pleasure. Glad to talk about it.
And for everyone listening, here's something to think about. How might consistently wearing shoes that actually fit properly change things for you? Not just your feet, but maybe your overall daily comfort, how active you feel, your general well-being, maybe in ways you haven't even considered yet. Something to mull over.